Hello students, you are welcome in the Economic IES YouTube channel. In our series of Civil Service Means 2026, now I am discuss with you expected questions from GS. And today our question, as you can see on board, is written, discuss the relevancy of green GDP and alternative welfare indicator in measuring sustainable development. If you go through multiple times reading these questions, you will find out that three questions include one question. Number first, relevancy of green GDP. Number second, alternative welfare indicator. Number third, sustainable development. Means how much extent our alternative welfare indicator are able to measure the sustainable development. If you are clear about the three terms, first I discuss the three terms. What is the meaning of green GDP? What are the alternative welfare indicator? And what is the sustainable development? Separately you understand, after then you can analyze these questions very easily and reach at a conclusion. These questions you have to reach in 150 words within 6 minutes because question carry only 10 marks. Now, one by one, first you understand what is the meaning of green GDP. You know what is the meaning of monetary GDP or GDP at market price? The value of total final goods and services within the domestic territory of a nation is known as GDP at market price if it is calculated at current prevailing market price. Now you are clear? GDP means, again I repeat, GDP is the value of total final goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a nation during a financial year. If it is calculated at current market price, then it will be termed as gross domestic product at market price. This GDP is not including all environmental factors which are degrading, depleting due to this production mechanism. As you know, if there is the industrialization, air pollution, water pollution, natural resource depletion, forest cutting, etc., different kinds of environmental issues can be raised which can increase our health cost as well as our quality of life. It means somewhere our monetary GDP are not including. Actually, when growth rate of GDP is there, environmental conditions generally degrade day by day. You can see in present scenario in India. Delhi, like mega city, always face the environmental pollutions because of air quality index always higher than our reasonable quality norms. PM level is always higher. It means somewhere increasing higher GDP generally degrades the environment. That's why there is the need to estimate the quality of life or sustainability in development by the use of green GDP. Now, how you can calculate the green GDP? Actually, green GDP includes all those environmental degradation, natural resource depletion during the production process. And if we include this one in our monetary GDP, then we can derive the green GDP. Simple formula you can see here. Green GDP is equal to monetary GDP minus environmental costs, means a degradation of environment. If we estimate that one in monetary value, that is known as environmental cost. Second, natural resource depletion also. Forest cutting, it may be soil erosion, it may be water pollution, everything we are including here in the calculation of green GDP. First, you understand the difference between the meaning of nominal or monetary GDP and green GDP. Now you can understand the relevancy of green GDP in the measurement of sustainable development. What is the relevancy of green GDP? Then I will discuss alternative welfare indicators in the measuring of sustainable development. First you take the relevancy of green GDP. The relevancy of green GDP you can in the measurement of sustainable development, first you can see reflects the true economic welfare. Actually, if our environmental conditions are better, if there is no depletion of natural resources, all are sustainable and our growth rate is high, when our, there's the model, I break this point and discuss one thing more with you, sustainable development. Simon Kuznets given sustainable development model, and in his model he clarified the idea, if you provide ownership right to the people of India, people participation development, as our Prime Minister in different budget says, सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास. What it show? In actual, this is the sustainable development. For further better explanation, you can see this diagram and you can understand the meaning of sustainable development so that I can proceed my lecture further. If you see this diagram, see carefully student, there are the two dimensional diagram. Below this line I say this X and upper line is say Y. If we follow this model of development below the O point, this is known as sustainable development model. Under it, public participation in development, private ownership right on natural resources, means now peoples have the ownership right of natural resources. As I told you, our tribal society have the traditional knowledge how they can protect the environment by alterations of the trees, etc. They automatically maintain the environment. If they have the right on forest, then they can maintain the forest and environment conditions always better. In this way, under the sustainable development model, suppose these are the circle of environmental degradation. Actually, this X represents threshold limit. Threshold limit of environment degradation. Now we are clear? If we cross this limit, means there is no people participation in development, people participation, no people ownership right on natural resources. This is known as unsustainable or not a sustainable development. If you follow this model, environmental degradation is there, but automatically it is restored because of people participation. They maintain their environment by planting different kinds of plants according to their traditions. Ultimately, this is known as sustainable. And if you follow this model, once it crosses this model, there is the environmental degradation. And it can't be reached in sustainable limit. It will cross once, never be achieved. As you can see, global development pattern is this. We are facing recently 1 and 2 days ago in Europe, France, temperature reached up to 44 degrees. More than 100 persons were died due to very hot. There is no AC, there is no fan. But recently people are going to purchase this product in France. Why? Because environmental problems is there. It means now you are clear what is the meaning of GDP, green GDP, and then sustainable development. Now I am talking about the Relevancy of green GDP in measuring sustainable development. First point I discussed, reflect the true economic welfare. Why true economic welfare? Because it is analyzing environmental conditions. It is estimating environmental costs which degraded by high GDP growth rate, depletion of resources, which is because of higher development process, like you can see recently Andaman Nicobar development project of the government of India. Second, promotes the sustainable resource use. If we follow green GDP and multiple countries are focusing on, different economists suggest that now we should focus on green GDP. Then what it will do? Sustainable resource use. It may be land, it may be water, it may be air. Everything we will protect and we can achieve the target of sustainable development if we more and more focus on estimates of green GDP by calculating these costs. Number third, help in better policy formulation. If our development is sustainable by the use of green GDP, then we can betterly formulate our different economic policy, health policy, education, everything, economic development policy, fiscal policy, everything depends on this policy. Supports intergenerational equity. Why it supports intergenerational equity? Because green GDP always estimate the cost of different kinds of environmental degradation, and in this way it helps in the estimate of intergenerational equity, like when we define the sustainable development, when we meet without compromising the future generation needs, the present needs. That is the meaning of sustainable development. And green GDP, by the use of this definition, generational equity means support this concept. Now you are clear about the next point. Meters environmental externalities. What do you mean by externalities? And what is the meaning of external externalities? Environmental externalities means traditional GDP never measure those costs which is occurring due to environmental degradation, depletion of natural resources, but green GDP is estimating. It means it is also estimate those costs or those conditions which are arising because of our high monetary GDP or higher growth rate in our GDP, like carbon emission, soil erosion, which is totally ignored by this. What is the limitation? I discussed what is the relevancy of green GDP in the measurement of sustainable development, and you are very clear because you have to write down only 150 words. Keep in mind only 1 and 2 points on this point. Next is limitations of green GDP. Alternative welfare indicators. What are the limitations of green GDP? You can understand easily. Is it possible to estimate the environmental cost? Today we are talking about carbon ceiling. Cost of environment. Difficult to measure in monetary terms. Second problem is what? Lack of reliable data. Different country, developed country are saying developing country is more responsible. Developing country are saying developed country are more responsible for environmental degradation. How you can determine this responsibility? Deficiency of data. If we have adequate data on this one, then we can utilize this green GDP for the measurement of sustainable development. Third point, what is the methodological differences among the countries? Different countries are measuring environmental degradation by different methods. That is also a controversial issue. among the different nations, as you know. Now come on the second thing or second concept, that is alternative welfare indicator for the measurement of sustainable development. HDI, Human Development Index, which developed by UNDP, and you know it measure the achievement in three dimensions of human life, that is health, education and living standard, which is measured by per capita income. It can measure the quality of life but not the environmental conditions. This is the limitations of HDI. IHDI, inequalities, three dimensions of human life, that is knowledge, health and quality of life. Quality of life. That is measure the three inequality. Again there is the limitations of environmental. Third indicator is genuine progress indicators. It genuine progress indicator include or a composite variable of three indicators, that is income inequality, environmental degradation, value of household and vulnerable worker works, valuable works. These are the three components of this genuine progress indicators. It also includes the environmental issue. It means it is measure the both welfare of the society as well as environment, and you can say this is one indicator of measurement of sustainable development. Inclusive welfare indicator. Inclusive welfare indicator is a composite index of three variables which you can understand, that is produced capital, human capital or natural capital. What do you mean by produced capital? Actually produced capital is those which is generated, or you can say artificial capital like machines, tractor, etc. These are the produced capital. And human capital, as I discussed with UNDP, all the indicators of UNDP, HDI, GDI, etc. are the measurement of human capital. Natural capital, natural resources, air, water, etc. They are our what? They are our natural capital. This is also an indicator of both welfare as well as environment. It means it can measure the sustainable development. Gross national happiness. As you know, gross national happiness is a composite indicator of three. That is number first, psychological well-being of the society. How much they are psychological? They are happy or not happy? They are under stress or not under stress, tension, etc. Environmental quality. How much extent we have the quality of environment? Good quality or bad quality, that is also measured under the gross happiness, gross national happiness index. Good governance. If governance is good, then it can betterly manage everything. It can manage the ecology, environment also, GDP also. If good governance is there, community vitality. Community vitality. It means if you think all these variables of gross national happiness, then definitely you can conclude this is the one measure of sustainable development, because it includes both GDP as well as natural resources. Multidimensional poverty index, as you know, it is a composite variable of deficiency in different dimensions of human life. It is also measure the wellness of the society, not environmental conditions, only wellness. But when we think deeply on health issue or health component of multidimensional poverty index, then health depends on directly environment. If environment conditions are better, in this way you can say indirectly it can measure the sustainable development. This is the concept of other welfare indicators which I discussed with you, students, multidimensional poverty, etc. Now you can think Is it relevant? Means green GDP and other welfare indicators are relevant for the India for measuring the welfare of the society. Now think one by one. First, India faces the different kinds of pollution challenge. Air pollution, water pollution, our rivers you can see, air quality index you can see, soil degradation, natural resource depletion, increasing cost of environment in the form of health cost. Different kinds of disease in India are increasing. It means if India is facing these kinds of problems, then definitely green GDP as well as other welfare indicators are more important for the measuring of sustainable development. Second point, high GDP growth rate does not necessarily means that welfare of the society is increasing. Welfare of the society will increase only when you will achieve the target of green GDP with other welfare indicators. Third point, adoption of green and other welfare indicators definitely improve the India's condition as we are the member of different international organizations and we are opting the goals determined by international organization, as you can say recently sustainable development goal. We have hope and we are trying to achieve all these goals shortly. Second, our 11th 5-year plan onward, the main target is inclusive growth. Sustainable since 12th 5-year plan, inclusive and sustainable development is our priority since 12th 5-year plan onward, and recent government highly focused on what? Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. It means our growth pattern in present not only inclusive in nature, not only improve the environmental conditions, but also all parameters. It may be welfare indicators, it may be a financial indicator, it may be social indicators for the development purposes, and Government of India decided to achieve developed India target by 2047 by incorporating all values which we are talking under this topic. It means now students you are clear and you can conclude the questions very easily which I told you recently. Question, as you know, discuss the relevancy of green GDP and alternative welfare indicator in measuring sustainable development. Conclude very simply that by including the recent vision of the government of India, recent vision of the government of India which incorporate green GDP with sustainable development can increase the welfare of our economy. Welfare of our economy. We have discussed and finally you can conclude according to this question. Thank you, student. In today, this is very complex topic to understand, but I try to simplify, try to relevant it with modern scenario, present government policy, so that you can understand broad sense. And again, I speak this question so that you can understand, discuss the relevancy of green GDP and alternative welfare indicator in measuring sustainable development. It means you have to discuss and finally you have to say that definitely green GDP, other welfare indicator with including monetary GDP can achieve the target of sustainable development. Thank you.